morning, Sun Coast.
Sing 'em on back, sing 'em on back. Hey! Sing 'em on back, sing 'em on back. Sing 'em on back. I call you maker. You give life an eternal spark. I call you healer. You can mend any broken heart. I call you faithful Father, 'cause you finish everything you start. My soul was made to respond. I know you by 1,000 names, and you deserve every single one. You're giving me a million ways to be amazed at what you've done, and I am lost in wonder at all you do. I know you by 1,000 names, and I'll sing 'em out.
comes to pass. Who knows what it'll cost me or how long it'll last? But I told you I would follow, I'll never take it back. I'll hang on every word you ever said, for I know you are faithful. I'm still waiting on a well.
Eyes are so heavy, arms are still open. Arms are still open. If I'm gonna hold on to something so tightly, I want it to be you. Just open up your arms and hold. Just open up your arms and just open up your arms and hold me. When the waves start to carry you out to the open, let my love be the lifeline as I pull the rope in. Let my love be contagious and shine in the darkness. Will you be the voice and I'll be the dry land? If I'm gonna hold on to something so tightly, I want it to be just open up your arms and hold. Yeah. Just open up your arms and hold. Just open up your arms and hold.
trillion stars with hidden worlds spinning in the vastness you design. The rolling seas, a masterpiece, dancing to the thoughts within your mind. There is no one like you, none beside you, Lord. With every breath I have, I will see that you're beautiful and worthy to be praised. How could I praise enough? How could I praise enough? The storm reveals the rising sun, an image of your faithful love for me. Oh, you're so faithful, Lord. The mountain peaks of majesty, pointing to the glory of my King. There is no one like you, none beside you, Lord. With every breath I have, I will sing that you're beautiful and worthy to be praised. How could I praise enough? How could I praise enough? How could I praise it enough? If every breath I take is yours, then I won't waste a moment more. I'll spend them all to praise you, Lord. I'll worship with all my heart. If all creation cries your name, I'll join until my lungs can't sing. And even then I'll find a way to worship with all my heart. If every breath I take is yours, then I won't waste a moment more. I'll spend them all to praise you, Lord. I'll worship with all my heart. If all creation cries your name,
Coast, how are you feeling this morning? Well, a little bit behind the scenes. So this week, this was a gnarly week for me. Monday I came into work, feeling totally fine, had meetings and all that. And about sometime in the afternoon, around 2 o'clock, I just felt my body just start to hit a wall. And I was like, I'm feeling sick. I'm gonna go home. And by the time I got home, I had to put on a jacket, joggers, socks, wrap myself under a blanket, turn the heater on, and I just couldn't get warm. And I knew, you got a fever. And for those around the office, they know I don't like being sick. I'm a mind over matter kind of guy. So as I was leaving, I'm like, I'll see you guys tomorrow morning. I'm sure I'll kick this relatively quickly. And then the moment I realized I had a fever, I'm like, I'm gonna get sick. I'm gonna get really sick. And I spent the next 2 days feeling like somebody was sitting on my chest. I just had a lot of tightness and congestion and just hacking and this headache that wouldn't go away. And my wife, Laura, can attest to this. I don't do well being sick. It's not something I enjoy. I'm a terrible patient. I don't rest. I don't like feeling down. It's just not, it's not something that I do well. And I go to a dark place when I get sick, and something I can't overcome is I just start to have these thoughts and feelings of worthlessness, and I don't like those thoughts. I'm a pretty involved dad. I help a lot around the house, and when you're so sick that you feel like you can't do the things that you normally do, I start to beat myself up. I'm like, man, I feel worthless. And there was this one moment I'm like, I'm in the kitchen with Laura, and I was like, all right, I'm gonna do this one thing. And she's like, babe, you need to rest. And I'm like, I need to do this thing to not feel completely worthless. And she looked at me and she was just like, I got it. Please rest. And she said something really beautiful to me. She said, I don't love you because of the things that you contribute to the household or the things you do for me. She's like, I love you for who you are. That hit me. And I think one of the cool things about God's love is that we receive God's love through his people. And in that moment, Laura showed God's love to me. We sing the song, As You Find Me. And some of the words in there are like, I've been strong, but I've been broken. And in those moments of worthlessness, and you feel like, God, I'm not living up to what you called me to do. Whether you're sick or healthy or whatever, I just feel worthless. I feel like I'm not doing the things that you called me to do. I want you to know that God looks at you. He says, I love you right where you are. And I don't love you because of the things you do for me or do the things you do in my name. I love you for who you are. And in that moment, it feels like God's just saying, I got you. I got this. I'll help you. I'm carrying you. I'm with you. And that was a wonderful reminder. And I'm so thankful for this woman. We've been, this weekend we're celebrating 12 years of marriage. I don't know how she puts up with me, but I'm thankful for her every day. And I'm thankful for you guys as well. I'm thankful for this community that is so wildly focused on showing God's love. And that's it. So I appreciate you guys. Let's sing this last song together, all right? I've been strong and I've been broken within a moment. I've been faithful and I've been reckless at every bit. I held everything together and watched it shine. know I don't deserve this kind of love, but somehow this kind of love is who you are. It's a grace I can never add up to be somebody you so want, but somehow you love me as you find. Borrowed breath is yours, Lord, take it all. You are faithful and you are gracious, and I'm just grateful to think you don't need a single thing, but still you are my heart. Whoa. And I was found before I was lost. I was yours before I was not, with grace to spare for all my mistakes, and now by just grace, oh, it wrecks me, and I know I don't deserve this kind of love, but somehow this kind of love is who you are. It's a grace I can never add up to be somebody you so want, but somehow you love me as you find me. You love me as you find me. Oh, you love me as you find me. Sing that out this morning. Your love. You love me as you find me. 'Cause your love's too good to leave me. Hey, love me as you find. Your love's too good to leave me. Hey, love me as you find. Your love's too good to leave me. Hey, love me as you find. Your love's too good to leave me. Hey, if you were my heart, I won't second guess, 'cause I need your love more than anything. 'Cause I'm yours. Your love's too good to leave me. Hey, whoa, your love's too good to leave me. If you were my heart, well, I won't second guess, 'cause I need your love more than anything. 'Cause I'm yours. Your love's too good to leave me. Hey, whoa, your love's too good to leave me. Suncoast, thank y'all so much for singing. You may be seated.
Good morning. Good to see you. Let me try that one more time. Good morning. Yeah, I love it. You guys have great smiles today. Thank you so much for being here. I'm Larry Bockham, the new timer here. First time here this year on stage. And just to take a moment to say thank you so much for Dr. Troy Doucet for our wonderful teaching last week. Give him a hand, would you? You did a great job. So we launched a new year, more in 24. But if you're watching today on one of our live stream platforms, thank you so much for tuning in. You're part of our broader audience. I love to hear the band play, and I love to hear Ricardo talk today. That was a great speech that he gave, talk to us. And I begin to think about all the people I know that have been sick this week. In our office, there's been a lot of sickness going around, all kinds of stuff. But here's what's amazing. I'm healthy. And not only am I healthy, I take so many supplements and vitamins. I mean, I really am about health that when I cough, people all around me are being healed. So it's a good thing. So just being near me today, maybe it'll help you a little. So, but I'm grateful for all the good things in life. Today we're in the middle of a heat wave compared to everywhere else in the country. Becky and I were supposed to fly to Chicago this week, and the airline notified us, don't go. So we didn't. We postponed it for a few weeks just until it warms up a little bit. But we lived in Kansas City a few years, and there are days that, you know, you look at Kansas City weather, and it's just last night, football game was one of the coldest ever. No thank you. Don't want to be there. Don't want to be in Chicago. Don't want to be in the Northeast. And I really would like it to warm up a little bit here. But we like to whine. When it's cold here, it's frigid everywhere else. I'm grateful today to wear a long sleeve shirt and feel comfortable. I love God and I love my community. You are amazing. You don't realize that when you come here how much better I feel just seeing you. So thank you for being here today. We're in a new series. It's called Transitions. It's a series of teaching for 7 weeks. We're going to talk to you about how you can grow in your spiritual journey in your life. And it's about transitions, how we handle changes that sometimes we cause and other times are thrust upon us. For example, many people when they're young adults, they before they have children, they want children. I mean, they want cute, cuddly, darling, and what they get is crying, hungry, diaper changing, hard to satisfy. And sometimes when parents, they have kids, are they going to say, what was I thinking? I mean, but talk about transition. And here's what I like to talk about that. You chose that. You just didn't see everything that was coming. And the same thing about starting a new business. Anybody start a new business? I mean, it's exciting. Vision, promise. This is wonderful. God, I'm so excited. And then all of a sudden, what do you mean taxes? And payroll, insurance, all the things come up and you go, I did not see those. See, sometimes it's not what we see that bothers us, it's the unforeseen. And you know why you can't see it? It's because it's unforeseen. That comes with the nature of it. Many things in life are a result of our choices, but it's the other things that create stress for us. I played a lot of sports when I was younger, many years of sports. Yes, Mark, a lot of softball. I played a lot during that time too, but in that process, I also tore rotator cuff in this shoulder, tore rotator cuff on this shoulder. A few years ago, I had this one fixed, and 2 years later, I had this one fixed. And now people say, how's your shoulder? They pat me on the shoulder, oh, your shoulder. I said, look, that was 2018. I said, I call this Tom Brady. It's old, but it feels really good. I mean, life is good. But you go through the transition of healing, and you go through this wholeness after surgery, then recovery. But you get to a different place. Transition is a series. We're going to look at where we have been, where we are, and where we can be. We're going to study the story of Moses as an Old Testament leader and see the consequences of his decisions to lead Israel and how he was supposed to obey the voice of God in his heart. And on our journey, we begin to see that there's an affinity between his life and ours. Maybe we'll see some of the parallels between this Old Testament guy and us today. Is that possible for thousands of years for humanity to have some similar circumstances? Absolutely. So we're going to examine the life of Moses. Let me sum it up for you. If you want to know more about this, last fall, there was a series called Becoming More. You can check it out on YouTube if you want. But let me give you the summary just of the beginning. Moses was a baby born into, slavery. They hid him in a basket in the bulrushes to keep Pharaoh from killing all the baby boys. He was discovered by Pharaoh's daughter and raised in this royal household. As he became older, he realized he was a Hebrew. And one day he saw an Egyptian fighting with the Hebrew, and he tried to get him to stop. The Egyptian was just beating this Hebrew. And he stopped him and killed the Egyptian. When he did that, he ran for his life, ended up being a shepherd in the desert watching sheep when he discovered the burning bush. And the voice of God from the bush changed his world. We looked at the first part of the story in the series. Like I said last fall, you can go back and look at that. But today we're going to pick up where we left off before. In this transitions, this series, if I were to give it one name, it'd be this, The Long Way Around. Moses could not talk to Pharaoh into letting the Hebrews go. He went through, hey, let me convince you, here's a few signs, now 10 plagues. And the last plague was the final one, where the death of the firstborn. The Hebrews did not know when Pharaoh would let them go or if he'd let them go. They were beginning to lose hope. So I want to share with you 3 concepts today, 3 truths I think you can fit in your life. They're in your notes. You can fill in the blank if you want. Here's the first one. When it seems there is no hope, God provides a way. In Exodus 14, listen to what it says. Moses answered the people, do not be afraid. Stand firm and you will see the deliverance the Lord will bring to you today. The Egyptians you see today, you will never see again. The Lord will fight for you. You need only to be still. After the last plague, this one where all the firstborn were killed, the Pharaoh said, okay, I've had enough. Get them out of here. Let them go. And they left. The whole tribe were ready. They left. And just a day or so later, Pharaoh, as he changed his mind before, he changed his mind again. And he said, what did I do? All my labor force, slave labor, just left town. Number 2, they don't know where they're going. They're wandering aimlessly. They really need me, and why not? They belong to me. He changed his mind. He said, get 600 chariots and go out and round them up and bring them back. And as they went out to round them up, they saw them and they started running toward the sea, and he chased them into the sea. Can you imagine these historic events in their time? Moses had come to bring them out of Egypt, and in the process, according to some people, he made a mess of things. They'd experienced in the process when Moses came, when they were in Egypt, they experienced more oppressive labor, increased hardship, but Moses wasn't finished. They'd seen all 10 of the plagues, but they remembered, we want to get out of here. We've been praying to get out of here. For 430 years, we've lived here in bondage. And guess what? Now it's time to go. You know what some people were saying, though? Just like in every crowd. Moses, Egypt's not so bad. You want us to take a risk? Egypt's not so bad. Others were saying, I really don't want to change. Regardless, with the community, they were out of Egypt on their way to the promised land. But then if you're in the crowd, you see Pharaoh and 600 chariots coming toward them. They begin to be in despair. They begin to panic. They did what we would have done. Blame the political leaders. It's not our fault. You're the ones who led us here. It's your fault. And I love the sarcasm. Didn't they have enough graves in Egypt? You see the sarcasm? You brought us out here. They're going to bury us out here. They didn't have enough graves. Is that the problem? Didn't we say to you in Egypt, leave us alone? Some of us were okay in servitude, slavery. Let us serve the Egyptians. It would have been better for us to serve the Egyptians than die in the desert. They said this phrase, I told you so. Moses, we told you that was a stupid idea. And there's always a faction telling somebody this is a stupid idea. You say, I don't know if I've experienced that. Are you married? You've heard that. There's always a negative element that seems the gloom and despair of each situation. I am sure even Moses had a moment of despair. But then, they're coming at you. What are we going to do? What am I doing here? He went back in his mind. He remembered the voice of God at the burning bush. He remembered the personal encounter. He remembered all the things that had gone on. He was right where he needed to be. He just needed to go back and remember. We talked about this last week. Dr. Troy did. Sometimes you need to go back to where you last heard the voice of God. You need to go back and say, look, I remember then, And that's still true today. In that moment, there were real issues confronting the people. They didn't trust their leaders. They were lacking hope. They saw no hope, no way of escape. And Moses says, stand firm. Verse 12, stand firm and you will see the deliverance the Lord will bring you today. 40 to 30 years in bondage, you make the exit, only to die in Egypt? I don't think so. God provided a way of escape. So verse 25, the Lord said, the Lord is fighting for you. They knew his name by now. See, God provided them a way of escape through the sea. Now notice the details. Moses gets up to the sea, and there's a lot of discussion, Red Sea, Reed Sea, whatever. He picks up the staff, and he holds up the staff according to the story, and the sea begins to divide. The waters begin to stack up on the one side, and they went through on dry ground. And as soon as they get through on dry ground, he brings the staff back down, the waters come back. The Pharaoh's army had gotten in there, and they were drowned. So how many lessons did Pharaoh need? You know what the answer is? Many. How many lessons do we need? Sometimes more than one. Here's another truth. Number 2, in your notes. Second thing the truth is, God most often leads us through the long way around. Verse 17, when Pharaoh let the people go, God did not lead them on the road through the Philistine country, though that was shorter. For God said if they face war, they might change their minds and return to Egypt. So God led the people around by the desert, which is the long way around, toward the Red Sea. He led them the long way around. Here's what I have discovered in my life. Let me start here. Our ways are shortcuts, but God likes the long way around. God did not lead them through the shortcut, but around by the Red Sea. How long did it take to travel 200 miles? I personally have traveled from Israel to Egypt on a bus. How long does it take 200 miles? Well, if we'd been in a jet, half an hour. If we'd been in a small plane, 2 hours. What about by a bus? 4 hours, maybe 5. They said you could travel that in 10 days on foot. So 10 days, 4 hours, 2 hours, half hour. How long did it take Israel? 40 years. I mean, that's a long time to journey. I could barely go with my kids and grandkids in a car for 4 hours. Orlando's a long trip. But surely the God who parted the Red Sea could have taken them to the Promised Land in less than 40 years. So here's the question. Why the wait? They'd been in bondage 430 years, for generations. Lord, deliver us is their prayer. God did not lead them through the shortcut, but through the long way. Why did God not lead them into the land of the Philistines? That was a shortcut. You know why? History tells us that the Philistines were warriors. They were tough. They were ready for war. And the Hebrews were slaves. They weren't ready. Have you ever noticed we're enamored with sometimes the shortcut, or what I call the convenience syndrome? We want it now. We want instant meals. Therefore, DoorDash, Uber Eats. We don't go to the movies, we'll just stream the movies into our house. We live in an instant age with computers and the internet in our hand. We email. We don't have to wait at the post office. We have cell phones, texting, Facebook, Instagram, Snapchat, Twitter, now called X. Texting. I want you to know if you have my number and you text me, I probably will not respond. My wife said, I texted you, and I go, I know. I doesn't automatically get a response. She goes, well, I texted you an hour ago. I said, I know, my phone's on silent. I have to look at it to get text messages. And when I look at it, sometimes I respond, sometimes I don't. Say, well, that's just unreliable. No, I just am not required to respond. Usually when I do, it's an abbreviated form. They call me KOB, King of Brevity. A long text message, and my response is the letter K. K. Another long thing. K, K. And even then, I have to find the right button twice. K. So texting, Facebook, Instagram, Snapchat, all the things. I'm going to tell you one, Amazon Prime. I want it now. Do you know, I'm really frustrated because I don't want it tomorrow. I want it today. Do you know Amazon Prime will actually deliver some things today? It's crazy. We're frustrated when we have to wait. Waiting. You know what really is slow? When I see more people frustrated today, when the internet connection, oh my gosh, it's only 10 megabytes per second. You know what we have here? 2,000. What are you getting on your phone? Don't check it. Matter of fact, I wish I could block all your cell service while you're here. The only one that would work would be mine, but that's different. We live in a day, though, of instant gratification. True? We do. Instant communication, instant information. I was in Michigan a few years ago and had an eye issue, and some of you my Michigan people, I'm looking at you now, you remember I had a little conjunctivitis, or what is commonly called pink eye, and I got there and go, man, my eye's sticky, what do I do? Well, in Michigan, they have teledoc. So I phoned the doc, do you have an iPhone? Yes, I do. So I'm looking at FaceTime. Put that up to your eye. Okay, there you go. How's that? Oh, yeah. Well, here's some antibiotic drops. Get to the pharmacy. Man, I didn't even have to go to the doctor. I loved it. I mean, I love the story of the mother who was in the grocery store one day. And her kid shopping with her, and she said, the kid put something in the buggy. She put that back on the shelf. It has to be cooked. We don't want things to have to be cooked. We want everything now. That's why the deli does well. I'm just saying reality. But let me ask this question. How long does it take God to grow a tree? You drove in today, and right outside there's a grand live oak tree that's over 100 years old. You can't grow those quickly. It takes 100 years. God often takes the long way around in the transformation of a life. And in those transitions, we discover we can become more. We can become more. Why did God send them on the long way instead of the land through the Philistines? My opinion, they were not ready, which leads me to number 3. It takes time to transform the heart and mind. It takes time for us to transition, to change. It takes time for formation, which is a reshaping of who we are, to work. It takes time to transform the mentality of a slave. The children of Israel had slave minds, slave dispositions, slave attitudes. If they'd taken the shortcut through the land of the Philistines, they would have failed. Can you imagine? Slaves coming out of 430 years of slavery going against an armored army. What do they have? We've got shovels and sticks and maybe a rake or two and some knives. We're going against an army that's got archery and spears and shields. They would have been no match for the Philistine army. It's only too possible these Hebrew people were not ready for the promised land. Why? There'd be battles to fight, wars to engage. The Israelites were too attached to slavery. To truly fight for freedom would come later. The children of Israel were children. You know, there's an old saying, it takes a steady hand to hold a full cup of water. I mean, you know, what would you do if you had a 2-year-old kid, barely walking around? They said, I want a drink. Would you give them a big gulp, 32 ounce, to the top? No. We give them a sippy cup, just like we give some of you when you come in here with your coffee. You should have a sippy cup. I mean, sometimes it takes a steady hand. This tile in here is coffee colored for a reason. It started out as white. Not really, but I mean, it's okay. But when you're children, you just don't give them maybe just a little bit. Moses and the people were on a journey, but they weren't ready. They weren't ready to handle everything that they needed to possess the land. 25 years ago, I had the privilege of founding Suncoast Community Church. It was one of those entrepreneurial church plants, vision from God. But you know what I really wished in the first 10 years or so, and still do? I wished I'd started 10 years earlier, because I'd been a little younger now. But listen very carefully. I wasn't ready. And in God's timing and to develop my heart and soul, we launched at just the right time. In my lifetime, I've discovered that it takes time for me to change. I'm guessing the same is true for you. It takes time to transform a legalistic, hell-centered fundamentalist into a loving, non-judgmental human being. And I'm not talking about you, I'm talking about me. It's taken a lifetime. I've been pastoring for 42 years. And I would tell you I'm not the pastor today as I was 42 years ago. I had it all figured out then. Today, I'm just trying to figure you out. I don't know. But I'm leading the charge for us to become a hospital rather than a courtroom. I'm leading the charge for us to become liberated from bondage, liberated from a theology that judges anyone who's not in my tribe. See, I'm not sure the church community is still ready. Some people still want to be in Egypt. It's the way I grew up. It's what I know. It's bondage. It's just the status quo. But I want you to know today, God has so much more for you. You can actually love him with an abandonment. You can realize that he loves you no matter what you've done, no matter who you are. It doesn't matter what you've done. You are the same in the eyes of God. I jokingly say, Jesus loves you, but I'm his favorite. But the truth is, Jesus loves all of us equally the same. But you don't know what I've done. No, I don't. But I do know this. It does not matter. All of us have lived through slave mindsets and dispositions, and we've had issues and fear and anger. I mean, all the guilt that we can possibly hold. And I want to release you from that today to the love of God. We want to be, by we, I mean I, in our community, we want to be a loving, non-judgmental, all-inclusive community who is trying to build a foundation for a Christ-centered church community that makes sense. And you're going to get that here. We want to give you the academics, but we also want to give you the heart. We want to say this is the best we know. I've repeated things because they were just part of my training. And I found out a lot of the stuff I was repeating wasn't true. I've heard people say, oh, that's a cult. And I begin to realize they're a cult if you're not doing exactly what I'm doing. You're a cult. And what is a cult? I mean, who knows? But I do know this. If we love people with the love of Christ, it's amazing how that God can transition our hearts and we can become better human beings. I'm a better person today than I was 40 years ago. And some people who know me today said, man, you must have really been bad back then. Because you still got a long way to go. And it's true. But I want you to know God is taking us, me, on the long way around. If the Hebrews had gone directly to the Jordan River and the Promised Land, they would not be the people God wanted them to be, and neither would you. There's an old saying, what we get too easily, we esteem too lightly. We want shortcuts. We want it now. Shortcuts are the perfect formula for mediocrity. I want you to know on your journey, you may pray and ask Santa God for lots of things and not get them. You may pray for riches to give away and receive poverty to trust God. We may pray for strength to do more and find illness to teach us to depend on God. We may get nothing we ever ask for, but everything you ever hope for on this journey where God shapes the heart and he's the center of my life. What are the expectations I have for you? I keep them very small. But I do know this, if you can realize when you walk out here that God loves you today, I've done my job. When you walk out here and you say, I believe that I am valued, that I am one of God's people, I've taught you what I need to teach you today. We may pray for all these things and receive nothing. It's about a journey where God is shaping our character and our soul. It's about a life of faith and trust, despite the tendency to want it all now. Years ago, we'd had these couples that gathered together, some of our friends. We were in our 20s. And one couple, Larissa and Paul, they were so talented. She was an amazing artist. And we'd had the kids, our kids were all little, and she was always about the kids. And she had these little piece of paper, and she'd set them down on the little table, and the kids were there, and she'd give them all crayons and things to draw. She said, just draw whatever you want, whatever you feel like. And little kids like that, they're not so sophisticated like this. They're more like this. And they're scribbling. And they're just scribbling away. And a few minutes later, after about 5 or 10 minutes, she said, now let me see what you've got there. Oh, look at that. And she'd look at, and I'd look at it, it'd just be a bunch of scribble. And she said, and she'd take a pencil or pen, and in a few minutes she'd do this. And somehow within that scribble, she'd find a boat or a horse or a dolphin or some kind of flower. It was amazing to me she could take something so chaotic and turn it into something that had beauty and meaning. I stood there in a moment, I had this God insight. He said, Larry, what I really want you to do is just take that scribble and give it to me and see what I can show you your life could be. And folks, I've done that more times than I want to admit. Say, God, this is the best I can do. It's not like this, it's more like this. And he's transforming it into more than I ever dreamed. And for that, I am grateful. In our journey, it's not about the finish line. It's about God transforming us day by day into his image. Integrity, honesty, compassion. We begin to have the heart of God. Can I pray for you? Father, today, there's some here who have been beat up on the long way around. Some have been frustrated with the shortcuts, but in a moment just like this, my prayer is that the very heart of God would be ours. If someone hasn't heard the whisper of God in a while, they'd hear it a day like today. I've got you. You're on the long way around. We're not done. Keep your hand in mine. Father, thank you for that promise that you love us, that you live in us. We celebrate that today. In Christ's name, amen. Would you stand, please? I'm going to tell you a story in closing. I want to confess to you, I've told you this story before. Some of you haven't heard it. I think I told it 8 years ago, the last time. But if you remember, good for you. But I want to tell you that I know I've told the story. Here's the story. It's told by a Jewish rabbi. I heard this story 40 years ago. Here's what the rabbi said. He said, there's a truth in this. Just hang to the end. A long time ago, when the earth was young, and Adam and Eve had just been banished from the garden, they had to make their life outside the garden, and as they wandered into one place and another. The first place they went was a place where they tried to till the soil, but the soil was just too rocky. They went to another valley and tried to make it there, but there's no water. Finally, they found the right valley, and it was a stream blowing through it, and there was a pasture, and they started tilling the soil, and it was great for gardening. And they look up, and on the hill there was a cave with a western exposure. So can you see the cave, western exposure, looking down over the valley with the stream running through it? And they had their family, and they grew up there, and they worked hard every day trying to raise the kids and raise the crops. One day, years later, Adam was sitting on the front of the cave. The sun was beginning to set, and it was just a serene moment. And he was so satisfied because he'd worked hard all day. He just had a wonderful meal. The kids were down, and Eve was there. He said, you know, Eve, this is the way it should be. He said, we were never meant to live in that garden without any struggle, where everything was given to us. That's not the way it was meant to be. God was wrong. Eve, God was wrong. And he got so incensed of it, he looked out toward the sunset, and he took his fist, and he shook it in the air, and he said, God, you were wrong. It was never meant to be that way. And from so far away, your mind can only imagine. Yet so close, Adam's breath was hot on God's cheek. God smiled. I want you to know God loves you, and he's smiling toward you today. Receive it. God bless. Thanks for coming today.